Yo guys, Brofessor Theo here on Common Sense. I'm in the midst of a weight loss phase right now. I'm cutting. I've lost around 5.5 kilos of fat or so the last month, and yeah, well, because of this fat loss stuff, cutting stuff is on my mind, and so I want to share with you my weight loss philosophy. Big weight loss video. I could have possibly fit every idea and everything I have to say about weight loss into one video, but this is going to be like a speech where I go through many of the things I generally think are most important for you to be aware of and focus on, no matter who you are, by the way, like your current body weight, shape, level of fitness. And I'm gonna give you actionable steps towards losing weight and give little examples of what that can look like, along with my best strategies, tips, tricks, mindset shifts to go along with it, right? Okay, so let's start with what's hopefully obvious to everyone, that in order to lose weight, you're gonna have to achieve a calorie deficit for long enough in order to make that happen. Mainly, it's gonna be a math equation in the end, as in, if I take in more energy than I'm using, that's gonna have to go somewhere. It's gonna end up being stored as body fat on me, and I'll gain weight, right? If I take in the exact amount I need, I'll either gain or lose weight. If I take in less energy than I need, I have to get that from somewhere. I have to tap in now into the stored energy I have in the body fat, and I'll lose weight, right? But I say, we have to achieve a calorie deficit to kind of point out that, yeah, it is a math equation, but it's one that can take many different forms. Theoretically, someone could eat once per day, but it's such a huge meal, and then they barely move, that they still end up in a calorie surplus and gain weight, while someone else could eat 5 times per day, but it's either such small meals or they're so very active running around that they end up in a calorie deficit and lose weight. So you can look many different ways, but no matter if you're going to be the 1 meal person or the 5 meal person or something in between, you're going to have a precise plan, an actual strategy, an actual plan for how you're going to accomplish this goal of weight loss. Because this is something I see way too much, that people that clearly have wanted to lose weight for a long time, maybe even express it, when you ask them what they're doing about it, it's like, well, I've been trying to eat more salads, I've been trying to go on more walks. It's like, that's not going to get you anywhere at all at that point. You need to have intention. It's like people are afraid of taking themselves and their weight loss seriously because, well, I guess it just seems tough, all that effort, but also if you show to yourself, hey, this is important to me, I'm trying, I'm doing something, like actually seriously, oh, if I fail, then bad, the fear of failure. So even if you want to lose weight, it's something that's safe and comfortable with when it doesn't happen. It's like, well, see, I didn't really try that, so I couldn't fail. Protect the little ego's feelings, but also that fat belly. You gotta realize that no matter what it is, it can be many different things, but you're gonna have a precise strategy, an actual plan for how to make this happen, right? So let's go through some basic things you can do to come up with a plan like this, right? First of all, we want to calculate our calories. This we can do by just Googling any calorie calculator, putting in your honest stats, and will work. You put in your age, height, weight, and activity level, and this is the thing where you want to rather be less generous to yourself than the other way around. Like, look, we're just looking for a starting point with calculators like this. We're gonna be able to adjust by ourselves later, but still we want to get the starting point as close to right as possible, right? So rather underestimate your activity level than the other way around. One thing to mention here is also that if you're really overweight, it's definitely going to give you too high of a number still. So what you can do then to get a more accurate number is to put in your ideal weight instead of your current weight, right? But so you put this in, and you're going to get your maintenance calories, and a typical good way to a calorie deficit to start with is like, okay, 500 below that, right? So if it was, let's say, 2,500, it's like, okay, then I'm going to try to hit 2,000 calories to lose weight. And these calculators, they're going to give you macros like proteins, fats, and carbs. But and I'm going to tell you that it's mainly protein that matters. And we're going to talk about, or like why, specifically about protein later. But protein, the amount of protein, that's something you really want to fit into your macros, right? And a good rule of thumb is 2 grams of protein per kilo of ideal body weight, 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's about the same, but again, ideal body weight. It's not that because you have a lot of extra fat that you need more protein. But then the fats and carbs are flexible, as long as you hit your total calories and you get in your protein, whatever ratio of carbs and fats that make up that will be fine, right? And so now we're gonna have to, so this is the part where there's many different ways to do it, but when we know that we're aiming for certain macros, have certain calories, now the question is like, how do I put this together somehow so it actually happens in reality, you know? How many meals do I eat per day? What does those meals look like exactly to the T? Every ingredient, the amounts of it, you know? At what times is it best for me to eat, you know? There are many things there. Oh, I have to delay eating because I'm not as hungry in the morning, so it's going to be easier for me to stick to these 2,000 calories if I start eating later, and so on, right? But now we're going to have to find out how this is going, you know, if it's working, because that's the thing also. You have to be ready to adjust and adapt at all times. This is a continuous thing. It's not just a choice now. The result we're looking for is an outcome of our actions over time, so we have to monitor them, right? There are two things we have to track here then. We have to track our food intake, we have to track our calories. We can do this manually, of course, to write it down, do the math ourselves, so there are many apps to use for this, right? And we have to track our body weight as we have to step on the scale. And about body weight, you just need to know that it's natural for body weight to fluctuate a little bit on a daily basis because different foods weigh different amounts even when they have the same calories, right? Sometimes you have more foods in your belly, it's gonna retain more water, sometimes you retain more water for other reasons, and so on. You know, so a natural little fluctuation on it. We never care about the change from one day to another is the point, but we don't care about the trend. And a good rule of thumb is that if after 2 weeks, the trend, we see the same kind of numbers, now we have to do some change. And again, just like 500 calories is a typical good calorie deficit to go for a couple of hundred calories, 200 calories further reduce from this point. And then now we have to do it again. But you see, it's by monitoring what we take in exactly and our body weight that we see if this is actually working, and we know whether to just stick to what we're doing or to adjust, right? And then it is this process. Observe, analyze, adjust, try again. And this goes for so many things, right? Just like if we imagine that you follow the plan you came up with perfectly, and then you just didn't lose weight, right? Then, okay, analyze, like what can I change, you know? Where do I have room to change something, you know? Do that change, try again. But it's also from a place of now I want to come to this lifestyle change and removing the black and white mindset that, you know, many times, even when we come up with a plan, I want you to have a clear plan, but it's a human factor. We're not perfect. Both are just like willpower, but sometimes just anything you didn't foresee, you know, just makes you cannot adhere to the theoretically optimal thing. You just cannot do perfectly at all times then. But then see at times, like if you had a moment of a weakness, you know, like, okay, what happened there? You know, analyze, you know, can I do something differently? Can I avoid that situation? Try again, you know. You go over the same situations and you don't have a black and white mindset that, oh, I did wrong, so I just give up completely. It's always like, okay, that didn't go exactly according to the ideal plan. What do I do now, right? And therefore, we want to remove the black and white mindset because it's also the fact that even when you're not fully mastering all these things yet, you can still be moving in the right direction. And it's by doing this cycle of slight improvements over time, eventually you're going to be doing enough to be walking in the right direction. But so another point about the black and white mindset is that something that I've seen as a coach, right, is that a lot of people, they can adhere to something when it's like they're in their typical circumstances, their typical strength, their typical days. But when they have to step outside it somehow, either spontaneously or they have like some, you know, oh, there's a party I really want to go to and I would like to enjoy myself or something. So easily people just like go completely in the other direction, you know, instead of just being like, well, what's the second best? And we want to, because that's my thing. I don't want a perfectionist mindset. I want what's the second best option? And that's both when you're just presented with a situation that, oh, there wasn't as the food I would have liked is not available. For instance, what's the second best option I can do here, right? How I know I have an idea what I'm shooting for with my options at hand. What's the second best option, right? But another thing is also if you had a moment of weakness, you try to not eat something, then you ended up doing it, Many people here, they feel like, I failed. And so they just keep going. But what's the second best option if you had a piece of cake that you shouldn't have? It's that you end it there. Because many times you're going to see that it's not single instances of these things that mess up your weight loss. It's multiple. Like one step of the plan in the long run is nothing. But if you let it be a trend, if you let it become many, then it's something, right? So we want to nuance things, right? But the lifestyle change, what we want to say here too also is, while we need a precise plan, something to aim for, we have to also focus on not just like this, the diet and lifestyle is a part of like a necessary evil to achieve this goal of weight loss. I can't wait until I'm over with this, right? Because well, that's first of all, it's not a very positive place to come from. But of course, it's not just about losing weight. It's about maintaining that weight. Like a person that is lean, that is healthy and fit, they have a certain lifestyle. We want to not only lose the overweight, we want to become that way. And then we have to focus on actually, the positive mindset, just thinking that, this is not like punishment because I'm bad, because I'm fat or something. It's like, no, I'm improving my lifestyle because I deserve to be my healthiest and strongest self. I take pride in making these priorities. It's like it's a lifestyle and change of identity also, character. And this, before I move on, it's also especially for people that have struggled a lot with weight loss. They are so hyper-focused on the method of losing weight, but it's like always in between the trying to lose the weight. It's horrible habits, And I told one client that recently that, look, man, it's like you manage to do your fasts and sometimes, but it's always in between. There's something just completely radical in the other direction. We really need to just build solid habits for you so that it's not the question of like doing extreme fasting and binging on complete junk. Like actually have a week here and there, where it's like I just ate decent food and I either gained or lost weight, right? We need to not just focus on that method. Sorry, last thing before we move on from it. What's nice to know though is that what lost you the weight, you'll never have to do exactly that to maintain the weight. Because of course, now we're actively digging into our stored energy to get rid of it, right? But when we're there, when we're at our destination and we're happy we don't have to lose weight more, now we can eat more. It's just that you need new solid habits, that we eat better foods and that. But it's just a good thing to know that when the job is done, it's always going to be easier from that point. Yes, so let's talk about the protein focus. So the other two, they are mainly sources of energy, while protein is the one macronutrient that actually builds the kind of tissue that we do want. Muscle mass, skeleton, skin, joints, ligaments, this kind of tissue in the body. So it's just less likely that protein, it's the one that actually builds the other stuff that we want, right? But also, it is the most satiating macronutrient. As if you have a protein focus, whenever you eat, you are always very concerned about getting a good amount of protein, let's say 30 to 50 grams. More wouldn't hurt, but it's likely that you're going to feel fuller and just not be tempted to eat more and get cravings, right? It's also the macronutrient that you actually burn more calories from digesting than the other two. So just effectively, calories are a little less from protein. So you see, having this focus on protein is just a great, it's honestly for a lot of people, for the next step, we're going to talk about training and building muscle. Just if they're have a little bit too much fat, just focusing on eating more protein and going to train, hitting the weights pretty hard and being better at that will help them lose weight, right? It would do a body recomposition for them. So the protein focus to stay satiated, but we want to build muscle, okay? muscle mass, the more muscle mass we carry, the higher our resting metabolic rate, meaning literally that we just burn more energy at all times when we're sedentary, as you sleep, right? So it's both the case, especially if you're new to it. You're definitely going to burn fat just from the exercise, but it is exercise, burn some calories, but it's mainly this long-term strategy, right? Putting on that muscle mass so that you can eat more. Like, it's easier to lose weight and maintain weight. You can eat more for both those purposes, right? I'm going to talk about all these things as one example person going through with all of this, right? So meal prep. Now, if we're talking just steps we can take in order to come up with a structure, the calorie goal and that. So things that do make it easier, one of the best things is going to be buying and cooking as much food at home as possible. Because of course you can control exactly what you eat, both in terms of quality, quantity, but watch the labels, what exactly is in there, you know, and you can actually pick and choose the exact amounts. You're not just, you know, at the hands of whatever that place is serving, you know, and the sizes of that, you know, you can actually pick that a lot. But also it's about meal prepping for the future, you know, and bringing to places, you know, if you're gonna eat at your job, instead of just going to whatever restaurant is there or something, you know, you brought perfectly healthy, good food that fits your macros for your goals, you know. The more you can do a thing like this, the better. You can buy foods in bulk, the most important one, the meats, you know, many steps you can take to just make it easier. I cannot go through. I get fired. I want to mention everything that comes to mind, but you know, make it happen. Make it happen. This is what I meant with have a precise plan. Have to have an actual plan, and then like, how do I go about actually making it happen? Yes, intermittent fasting, just a general good strategy for a lot of people. I think I might have mentioned it already, that again with a strategy of if I have 2,000 calories I get to eat on a day to lose weight, like how do I make that the easiest on myself as possible? For a lot of people, intermittent fasting, just getting used to that makes, you know, hunger and cravings less of a problem. But for many people, it's just that it's usually easier to push through early in the day and start eating later. You know, many times when I eat in a deficit, it's like I start eating later, and if I had eaten the same things and started earlier, I would probably have time to get hungry again before I go to bed, right? So that's mainly a thing like intermittent fasting. It is also something that helps to create structure. There's this set window, and then you're going to have to know exactly when you eat also. The more precise everything is for when it comes to this, the better. Yeah, longer fast. You mentioned I have many videos about longer fasts, but that's something that either can be your means of a calorie deficit. You know, instead of eating in a daily calorie deficit, you have a weekly fast of, for example, 60 hours. That creates the deficit in the long run, right? You can also do a daily deficit as your main approach to weight loss, but throw in a longer fast. Just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 day fast, right? Because obviously that's like a boost to your weight loss. But I have many videos about this that I just mentioned. I love it. I'm actually now close to 24 hours fasted. I'm gonna go another 40 hours or so. I do them every other week. Walking and an activity. So of course you can do cardio to lose weight, but since we're talking about lifestyle change, and I'm talking about really what I think are the easiest, best routes for most people. So just walk more. It's great. It's such a good bang for your buck, as in the effort you're investing, you're really burning a lot of energy for that. The difference isn't too big compared to actually running and getting a sweat on. It's also something that doesn't have to be an additional thing. All times they're great at going on long walks and stuff, but it can also be a means of transportation. You can go to stores you're visiting or your job or whatever locations. You can actually walk there, and so it's just a great lifestyle change. And I just put /activity. What I mean by this one is that if you want to do other types of exercise outside the building the muscle training, that I'm going to tell you a suggestion for how often to do also, but yeah, great if you want to do cardio and stuff, but just a lifestyle of being someone that walks and moves more, that's something that really helps with losing weight and maintaining a lean body weight. Yes, controlling the environment. Okay, this is related to like meal prepping. You know, you make it so when it's time to eat, everything is just there. I buy foods in bulk. I make sure to have what I need at home. There's just like less resistance. You know, if I was tempted, it's like, well, it's right there. I have. You know, but in the other direction as well, like you wouldn't in an alcoholic's home, you wouldn't put liquor in there, right? So if you're trying to lose weight, don't put a bunch of sweets or junk foods that you can be tempted by at home, right? This is also in terms of like people, you know, like that's a big topic, but even certain people are such enablers and going to push you either actively, that are actually trying to make you go off your path, or you just cannot help yourself around them, right? So some people might have to be removed, or some boundaries have to be set, right? And when I say boundaries too, it's just something that, again, with a black and white mindset, sometimes when someone is going to go on a party, for instance, and they're like, well, I'm not going to have to follow my plan today. Then it's like, just went crazy. While if it's like, well, I am allowed to go outside my plan today when I go to this party, but, you know, here's where I put the limit. I'll have 3 units of alcohol, for instance, I'll have the cake, whatever the boundary is, but to actually put some limitations. Because that's also something you're going to notice, that the difference between eating one piece of cake and the entire cake, that's huge, you know. So, yes. But strategic foods, I put, that's just some also related to the black and white mindset, that second best option mindset, that some things, like let's say protein bars, it's not a health food, you know, it's glorified candy that also contains some protein and is lower calories, right? So it's not a health food, but on the way towards losing weight and becoming a healthier person, it can be a second best option, or a better option toward, if having a protein bar makes you stick away from the other unhealthier bar, a higher calorie bar, less protein bar, good for now, right? If something like diet soda can kind of, you know, please your sweet tooth when you're trying to stay away from actual sweets that contain calories, you know, great, you know, then maybe long term we can all agree. I don't think these things are too bad to have every once in a while, but we can all agree probably that shouldn't probably drink diet soda and eat protein bars every day, but it's sort of a stepping stone, right? And there are many other examples like this. But keep it simple, like with everything, this with and I said do your thing, because we can have these ideas that, you know, a meal needs to look a certain way, or, oh, I can eat at this time, that's strange, or like, but in the end, it's like most people, they look and are a certain way. Do you want to be like most people? Then do whatever, but do your thing. Even if it's something is weird, unusual about it, it's like food, in this aspect, human beings, we're also the animal part. We just need certain things that are good for us. Making that happen for you, don't give a shit about what everyone else does, right? But keep it simple. Few ingredients in meals, the better, you know. Everything simple. But so if we take an example of what this could look like for someone, what I would suggest, the good goals for someone, just a person, right? It's like you calculate your calories. We said it was that 2,500 calorie person. I said, yeah, 2,000 calories, you know. I would like a 16-8 intermittent fasting routine, so 8-hour eating window. 3 meals in there, it's going to be a good strategy for these 2,000 calories, right? Weight training to build muscle, 2 to 3 times per week, I would say, training in the gym, and walking, 10,000 steps per day. And, you know, along with all the other tips, that could look like a starting point for someone. Okay, I'm going to do 16-8 intermittent fasting, 2,000 calories. I know my macros that I would calculate with this also, right? I'm going to go to the gym 3 times per week, and I'm going to walk 10,000 steps, you know. There you have what a start to someone trying to lose weight could look like. And then it's this journey of observe, analyze, and just try again, because you're keeping track of all of this, right? Man, I have so much to say, and I honestly a little bit in a hurry recording this. I hope this was helpful for you. You know, please like and comment anything you have to say or any questions you have. I'm always happy to hear it. Please let me know. I do holistic bodybuilding coaching. getting jacked and stacked physically, mentally, spiritually, you know, losing weight, losing fat, building muscle, becoming a ripped person. Because again, it's a lifestyle, it's an identity. All this being lean, it's not just a look, it's a way of being, right? That's what I help you do. So if you're interested, you can send me a DM on Instagram or email me. It's in the description below. I'll get back to you with my different programs and offers. You can pick up my training book, everything training, mindset, philosophy related, specifically for the training part, also written in a very coach-like form. And please subscribe for more content about fitness, fast losing weight, building muscle, self-improvement, stoicism, mental health, philosophy, spirituality, mindset. It is a mindset, guys. Oh, by the way, you can get a free consultation with me through a link in the description. Peace.